Welcome to Lakeshore Focus, a weekly show highlighting significant events, interesting people, and key issues in our region. I'm Keith Kirkpatrick. If you stay current with the news in Northwest Indiana, NIRPC is a name you often hear with their involvement in a wide variety of activities. NIRPC is the Northwestern Indiana Regional Planning Commission. Wait, that may sound boring, but the work they do is vital to our region's growth and improvement. Today we are joined by one of the newer faces to the leadership of our communities. It is the face of Ty Warner, who is the Executive Director for NIRPC. Welcome, Ty, to Lakeshore Focus.
Thank you, Keith. Great to be here.
You know, I said you're one of the newer faces, but your face is not as new as it used to be.
It's probably a little more worn now. Yeah, it's been about a little over a year and a few months.
Well, I wasn't thinking about the worn. I was thinking you've been here a while, actually, now, but you're still newer to the region. You've been here in this job now how long?
It's just been a year and a few months.
Okay.
So it feels like, I don't know, 8 months tops maybe. It's gone very, very quickly. And there's just so much happening in the region. It's been a fast pace.
Well, I think your face still looks good. I don't think it looks
thank you.
I don't think it looks worn.
Appreciate it. Your face is not so bad yourself.
So one of the things I want to make sure the audience knew is we actually shot a show similar to this, like after you'd only been here a few months.
Yeah, it was pretty new. Yeah.
And so I was trying to get your perspective, but we started posting our shows on the website right after that and never got this show posted. So you and I have talked about trying to get back to it. You wanted to do this again.
I was happy to, and can I just say I love what
Sure.
you've done with the place. The books are great. The bookshelves, it looks very nice. Nice table.
So the set's different. So you like this. Well, I'm glad. I'll mark down Ty Warner. Really,
very comfortable.
Really like this. Now, this is a new career for you after the Beanie Baby fiasco, right?
Right. My tax evasion has caused me to go into a new line of work and be part of the. You know, what are the chances? Ty Warner is not a very common name, so I don't know what the chances are of that are, but that's...
That same name was the founder of the Beanie Baby
exactly, right. And during the height of the Beanie Baby craze, I used to get phone calls, emails, all that, which was, I didn't mind. I actually found it rather entertaining, until the tax evasion.
As long as the IRS didn't show up at your door.
That's right, exactly.
They never did they?
They never did, at least not yet, so. Yeah.
Well, you know, I say you're a newer face here, but for our audience who doesn't know your history, you were in Will County for a while in a role, and then you were in Kansas, and then now you're here. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So came up here to go to school. I'm actually from Sarasota, Florida, is my hometown, and came up here to go to Wheaton College in Wheaton, Illinois, where I met my wife. And one thing led to the other in terms of staying here and getting my master's degree in urban planning, and was with the Will County Land Use Department for about 14 years, I believe.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah, it was a long time. Didn't know that I really planned it out that way, but it's just what had happened.
We have a lot of viewers from Illinois, so
it's great.
They're watching. We broadcast right over there. Where'd you live when you were over there?
We were in Plainfield, Illinois. And you know, the Northwestern Indiana and Will County, of course, have a lot of similarities. In fact, the population of Will County is approaching that of Northwestern Indiana, so there's quite a bit of activity there. And that's what I think kept me so long in Will County, is that there was a lot happening, just like there is in Northwestern Indiana.
Then you got sucked away, maybe I should say blown away to Kansas, right? So you were drifting in Kansas for a while. Yeah,
you know, I actually was from Will County, went to the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning. That is NIRPC's equivalent for the Chicago area. So I was there for about 4 years. But I went out to Manhattan, Kansas. That's Kansas State University, Fort Riley Army Base. Opportunity to form a brand new regional council out there, which was very exciting work. Those communities had come together, much like in Northwestern Indiana, where they've started to see beyond their individual interests and realize they need to work together for a better future. So did that for 3 years and had made the transition, and it was exciting work, but I had known my predecessor, John Swanson, for many years when he worked on the Illinois side. And I saw him at a conference, and he had told me that he had just announced his retirement and asked if he could put my name forward as a possible replacement, and one thing led to the other, and we are back in the Chicago region and happy to be here. Well,
we are glad you're here, and since we brought up John's name, and there's some attachment or some lineage to this piece of sculpture that we have sitting on the table, which everybody's probably going, what is that cube that is sitting between? But you're pretty proud of this thing, aren't you?
We are. And just for the record, I do not carry this around. I did not bring this with you. In fact, I didn't know it was here until you pulled it out and brought it here.
I snuck it in. You know, Steve Strains smuggled it over here. So.
And good for Steve, because we are justly proud of this. This is the 2013 Daniel Burnham Award for a Comprehensive Plan from the American Planning Association. This is an organization, association that I've been a member of for many, many years, and has brings planners together from all across the United States. And every year they have awards that they give. And one of the top awards is for this Daniel Burnham Award, which is for Comprehensive Plan, named after Daniel Burnham, who did the 1909 Plan of Chicago, which really would be a great addition to your shelf, by the way. It's a beautiful book. So for the best comprehensive plan in the country every year, they give an award. And I'm happy to say that in 2013, we received that for Northwestern Indiana. For
so
the
only
2040.
one organization gets this award.
Correct.
So this is like the Oscar of planning.
That's right.
But this is like you won Best Picture.
That's right. Exactly.
So,
exactly right.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. You know, I don't know that enough people know that. So I mean, and what's neat about the fact that this organization won it, but this was a process that involved thousands of people to put that plan together, which is we have laying right here on the table.
That's right, and you had a copy of this, which is great. This is the.
I'm glad we brought all these
plan.
props for you.
No, seriously, it's phenomenal. I love it.
It
makes me wonder what else
connections.
you're going to bring out. What's that?
It pays to have connections.
Yeah, right. That plan was a huge grassroots effort across Northwestern Indiana. I know because you participated in it yourself. And I was tracking it, even though I was in Kansas, of what was happening. And that's why I'm very happy to brag about it, because I was not here during the development of it. But it is my job now to help implement it. So I do care deeply about it.
And that's where we brought John into this, because John was at the helm really
Exactly.
during this process.
Yep.
But and I'll ask you a little bit about the plan here in a second. But so you've kind of now inherited the implementation of this plan.
That's right. You know, that whole process developed a vision for Northwestern Indiana and where does everybody want to go. And now it's the hard work of how do we actually get there. So how do we take the recommendations within that plan and implement them? How do we bring it to fruition of what that vision is?
So why did this plan win Best Plan, Best Movie of the Year? Why did it win?
Yeah, well, I think for several reasons. First, I should just clarify for your audience of those that aren't familiar with NIRPC or know about NIRPC in a particular context. NIRPC is the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization for Northwestern Indiana.
And every part of the country has one of those.
Every place that is over 50,000 urbanized population,
Okay.
so there's a criteria. And in fact, where I was in Kansas was just in the process of becoming an MPO, which NIRPC has been for a long time. So when you have crossed that threshold, federal transportation funds that come to the region, instead of being decided by the State Department of Transportation, and this is very simplified, but in a nutshell, those funds come to the local MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, where local decision makers are at the table to figure out how to allocate those funds. So it puts the decision making of those federal dollars into the hands of local officials. The plan, and John Swanson's drive when he did this, was to really move NIRPC more fully and more visibly beyond just that function of transportation planning, because it's the awareness that, you know, roads go in, transportation projects happen, and it's not just about getting people from point A to point B. Whenever you put a new piece of infrastructure in, that has impacts on economy, on housing, on the environment, et cetera, et cetera.
And this plan covers all of those topics.
That's right.
And not just transportation. It looks at all of those issues and tries to talk about what we need to do through the next 20, 30 years. Correct?
Exactly. The 2040 plan is for a 2040 horizon. So.
I remember John saying to me at one point when the plan was getting close to being wrapped up, I remember him saying, we haven't gone far enough with this plan. We've still not got enough about education and other issues to make a comprehensive regional vision. He said, we've covered the stuff we're required to do and gone even beyond that scope. So
that's right.
What this organization did was more expansive than was required or is normally done.
That's right, exactly.
And so beyond John wanting to do that, why did he want to do that, and the leadership of this organization want to do that?
Yeah, well, these things are all interconnected. And, you know, to recognize those relationships between not just transportation but other areas of the plan, all those things are, you can't really tug on, it's like a big mobile, you can't really tug on one of those issues without affecting something over here. So until we figure out how that's all connected and realize the implications of our actions here, on something that may be way over here, that's where you run into things of unforeseen consequences, unintended results, that sort of thing. So when you're trying to move forward towards a common vision, you have to look at those parts. You mentioned some other topics that the plan does not cover, and that's why, in addition to the vision that the plan outlays, NIRPC partners with hundreds of groups that are specialists in other areas to try to work together towards that common future. It's not just one organization.
As you follow this plan being put together, or when you started looking at it, tell me something in it that just surprised you about the region. Mm-hmm. Was there anything that surprised you?
Yeah, well, this region has tremendous assets, and I don't think we necessarily get out there and trumpet those as much as we should.
So it was a surprise, knowing the assets are here, the fact that the local region doesn't recognize them very well?
Both, and I can say from having been in the Chicago region so much, I availed myself of the dunes, the assets that were in northwestern Indiana, so I was not a stranger to them, but I still run into people right here in northwestern Indiana. In fact, I just talked to someone yesterday who admitted, without me grilling them about it, that they lived here for 7 years and have never been to the dunes, for example. And there's all these things that we have here in northwestern Indiana that this plan, I think, does a great job of elevating, of how special they are.
In our youth leadership program that you're aware of, and you've met a lot of the kids in our new one this year, we recently took them to the Riverwalk in Portage, and one of the girls in the class had never seen the lake, and her face was like, oh my gosh. She was just, she just couldn't believe it.
Wow, and she will be back.
Yeah.
She will tell others about that as well.
But she's not the only person. You're right about it. Tell me something in this plan that you just like, wow, this is a great concept in this plan.
Yeah, that's, and we did not talk about this in advance, but that's actually a softball question because we've just launched one of our major implementation items from this plan, and that's the Creating Livable Communities program. And this plan identified that this was a program we should enter into, and now we've had the opportunity to enter into it. What that does is, I've talked about the transportation funding. Mm-hmm. Recognizing again that it's not just about roads or transit or just getting people around, it's the implications of that. This program takes a portion of that transportation funding and allocates it towards communities so they can do downtown planning, revitalization of their communities, et cetera. If you make your communities more walkable, and we use the term livable, which I'm not sure my spelling checker picks up, but that's what we call it.
Is there an E in there or not, right?
We don't use one, right, but that's what it wants to put in. So when you focus on these things, it does have impacts on other areas that the plan talks about. If your people can walk to more destinations, then that's less cars on the road and less need to be able to improve that, to fund that infrastructure. These things all work together. Yeah. If we can try to get jobs closer to housing, et cetera. So the Creating Livable Centers program, we've had 8 awardees now for our first inaugural allocations. It's exciting because now these communities can get some extra resources to plan well.
When I was involved in this process, that was one of the concepts that I was particularly proud of or really liked, but it took a while to understand it. I feel like I know a lot of what's going on, but I kept like, what are they talking about here in livable communities? And I remember a moment in this process where they were talking about, particularly about Valparaiso, and trying to grow that as a population center a little bit more. And I kept thinking, where are they going to put any houses? And it's so funny how we think so one-dimensionally or two-dimensionally. Sometimes somebody says, you build up. And I'm like, well, that didn't occur to me. On all these towns, we build out. We don't build up. Mm-hmm. But if you want to increase the density, you build up. Not that they're going to put a skyscraper in Valpo, but...
Right, but there's appropriately scaled buildings and other places to point to where that has worked really well and enhances the community. We talk in terms of density, and it's a very important concept. And part of the benefit of the photographs within this plan and to show good models is that, people have certain ideas when they hear that. Building up is not necessarily something that's out of character at all. Even if you think of the apartments above the stores, for example, or things like that, that's building upwards, but that's part of the character and charm of being downtown, is that environment. And we can point to multiple examples where that's been done well. That did not threaten in any way the value of the downtown environment. It actually enhanced it. Plus you have demographic shifts. We have an older population in northwestern Indiana. A lot of folks are, as they start to lose their ability to actually operate a vehicle, rather than being necessarily isolated in some location, if they can actually be right downtown, think of that life that hope that it gives them to still be active and involved in their community, even if they can't get behind the wheel of a vehicle.
And it's remarkable to consider, but as we see the aging of this region, we're seeing more older people staying here, not everybody moving off to Arizona and Florida.
That's right.
And so these people do want to stay here, despite the horrible winter. Right?
Exactly.
So
that's exactly
people
right.
are trying to figure out these ways.
That's
It's really interesting. One of the pictures in here, and just as you were talking, I finally put a reference to it. There's a picture in here, or I've seen recently, I think with some of the stuff that you guys are doing, that's is a rendering of what downtown Michigan City could look
I know which
like.
one you're talking about.
And when I saw that picture, I thought, I've been to a place that looks like identical to that, and I just realized where it was. It was Kowloon Bay in Hong Kong that we were there years ago, and that their outside walking area looks just like that rendering. And I thought, well, that would be kind of cool to have something as exotic as a place like that. So
yeah, with the life and the activity and people enjoying being outside, and there in the case of Michigan City, there by the harbor and whatnot, it's exactly.
And that was pretty cool because they were near the water. So this livable community concept is really pretty exciting, and part of it is trying to not continue to sprawl out. It's trying to really take these communities and how would you describe that?
That's right.
Infill, revitalize?
Yeah, in some cases
what?
infill. Infill is really taking advantage of where there's vacancies or things that need to be restored, enhanced, et cetera, and being able to repurpose those and give them new life. Or being able to enhance the amount of people that live in an area that want to be close to that kind of vitality. Part of the concepts within this plan, when we talk in terms of sprawl, which admittedly has a negative connotation to it, is that the communities in northwestern Indiana have a distinct character. You can go to each one, and if you go to their roots and their history, they're unique. And how do you celebrate that uniqueness and enhance it? That's what this funding mechanism and trying to focus on communities is about. We've really only since World War II, so really pretty recently in this country's history even, have begun, since that period, had begun to go to a pattern of development that is termed sprawl, that is very automobile-centric. And everything's geared towards the automobile, from the storefronts that want to capture your attention to signage to everything. And I think that pendulum is swinging. Those, especially the generation that's grown up in that suburban environment where there wasn't really any distinctiveness to where they were, same stores, same, you name it. They want something more real and more solid and more human.
And it's got to be proven, because they are drawn to those kind of communities, and those are the communities that we always look at Chicago and how young people are drawn to Chicago. And what do you look at in Chicago? They actually have density and local stores, and everything's 3, 4, 5 stories, and
that's right.
And they love that.
That's exactly right.
Despite the fact there's not much grass and all those kind of things, but they're drawn.
Yeah, there's life there, and the idea is that no one place. You should really know where you are when you're in a place. It shouldn't be, I don't know where I am in the country. You should know where you're at. If you're in a rural environment, that's a unique landscape as well. That's in our case, very unique to northwestern Indiana. You know what that looks like. If you're in the Dunes area, for example, that's a very unique feel and very unique look. These communities all have something very unique about them that you should know. I am in this community.
What do we have to do to implement this plan? I mean, or what's standing in our way of really making that happen?
Yeah. Well, I think we're making huge progress, and it's there are programs like I just mentioned, this Creating Livable Communities program, but that's a program. I mean, ultimately, the future of northwestern Indiana is about multiple partners making that happen and sharing that vision in their particular sphere of influence and where they can make a difference about it. I see every day, I am constantly encouraged by how many groups are really on the same page. Let's give an example. Recently, the Times did a Sunday piece on 5 ideas for a better northwestern Indiana, and they had different folks write that, and I was privileged to write one as well. There was no colluding on what those 5 ideas were. The Times just asked, can you write this piece? We had no idea what anybody else was going to say. In reading the other responses that I didn't see myself until the paper actually came out, I was amazed at how in sync everybody was on the things that this region needed to do.
So what
to
you're
move
saying,
ahead.
at least we've got 5 people thinking very similar.
Yeah, right.
So this is a good thing.
But I think that's reflective of what I see all across the region. I mean, sure, there's almost 800,000 people here, and that's hard to get everybody, moving together. But there's been so much movement over the past few years. I was just earlier today talking to someone over lunch about that. I'm new, being relatively new to the region. It's my impression is that everybody is working together far better than I was told that they were. And so, since this person had been around for a while, I was asking, is that an honest, assessment? And he said, yeah, it's true. He said, there's still things that we are working at, and maybe some things that are a little bit under the surface still that are at issue that we still have to kind of work at. But overall, this region's taken a huge step forward over the last, 10, 20, whatever years of coming together.
I would fully agree with that. I mean, I've seen it. The neat thing would be to see if we could geometrically push it up, and not just kind of, we do it incrementally, but it'd be nice to speed up the process a little bit, I think, sometimes too, although we're a little slow to do that.
You're dealing with people, it's messy, and just trying to get on the same page sometimes takes a while. So in my view anyway, as long as incremental progress is being made, I think the history of these kind of when regions come together is that you go like this, and then all of a sudden something catalytic happens that really propels things for the region.
Periodically, I will ask a guest on the show this question, just because I think it's to get an interesting response. If I could give you one wish that could be granted to make this a great community, magic wish, what would you wish for?
Boy, Keith, that's a. You had a softball question before? That's a hard question because, as this plan demonstrates, there's a whole host of things that we could do. So to narrow it down to one would be tough. But I'd probably put it along the lines of better regional cooperation. That we all can actually figure out, even when we have differences, how to move the ball forward. That would be it. Everything can happen in this region when we get on the same page like that.
I'm glad you at least went after it, because if you didn't, I was going to say, okay, you're going to lose the wish if you don't use it real quick. But you used it. So,
good.
I really appreciate the leadership that you're providing here and all that you're doing with this, and a huge congratulations on this award. We're down to about 10 seconds, but what did it feel like when you guys got this?
Oh, phenomenal. I mean, I think the mood of everybody at NIRPC was just, completely elevated. And it has happened a time. We received the announcement of the award just as I was coming. So it was a privilege for me to be able to come right as that wave was, that excitement about implementing the plan was there.
Well, we don't always get to recognize this, but we get to say we're the best, right?
That's right.
So you're the best, we're the best.
The region is the best.
The region's the best. Good way to end it. Thanks for being here.
I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Nearly every decision that involves tax dollars or has an impact on a community requires public participation. That's the time when John Q. and Jane S. Citizen can weigh in on the issue at hand. The democratic process of this country requires, in most cases, a time for the public to share their thoughts about whatever decision is on the agenda. Over the years, I have found that good elected leadership wants and needs that input. So why do we hear constant complaint from both sides? The general public is often heard saying, no one listens to us. We never get a chance to tell how we feel, or those people never take our advice. They just do what they want anyway. The public officials will contribute comments such as, no one ever shows up to public hearings, or the only people who come are those who complain and complain loudly. So what's the problem? First, the general public does not seem to understand the process, particularly of when to do it and what to do. Public participation is a formal, scheduled event where people can come and make comments on something that is proposed or will be voted on. The key is this: it is formal and scheduled. Input can also be given at other times via letter, phone call, email, text message, or personal conversation. Actually, those may be better vehicles to get a decision maker's attention. Now, what to do? First, let me tell you what not to do. If you've attended a public hearing, there is often a large group of people who fall into one or two categories: angry, upset, and negative, or one-sided and unwilling to see it any other way. Do not be one of those people. Thoughtful, constructive ideas and information is what decision makers need to hear. You can deliver it with passion. You can advocate for a position, but please have your purpose be one of helping the public officials make a good decision for the whole of the community. So, viewers, participate and encourage others to do the same. Your contribution does matter and is needed. And the next time you hear people voicing their opinion about an issue, suggest they get involved. You can educate them on what to do and when to do it. If we can nurture a healthy practice of public participation, maybe we will hear less complaining. Let's hope so. We at Lakeshore Public Television thank you for watching. I hope we gave you some information to help you be a better citizen. Remember, you can watch this show from our website. Tell others about it or let us know your thoughts and feelings. Email us at focus@lakeshorepublicmedia.org. Join us next week for another Lakeshore Focus. I'm Keith Kirkpatrick saying, make a positive difference in our world today.